Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock on Saturday, June the 5th, and this is the latest in one of the sessions that Western Liberty Network holds every Saturday at this time on different topics. And I want to welcome you here and to those who may be viewing the recording. A couple of things I have to go through for legal purposes. The first of which is that Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit organization. We do not endorse any political party. We do not endorse any candidate, even the candidates we train, or oppose them. And we don't endorse or oppose any legislation or ballot measures. What we do is train people how to hold public office, how to be good citizen advocates, how to be successful campaign volunteers, and then they apply their learning wherever they wish for the things that they care about. I would like to share the screen briefly.
No bark.
Okay, yeah, we've got a couple of dogs with us today. So I'm going to share the screen today, and what you see here is Western Liberty Network's webpage. I want to encourage everyone who wants to know more, who may be viewing this recording, to feel free to go to www.westernlibertynetwork.org. This is the main page, and as you can see, our guest today, her beautiful picture is on the front. And okay, Tracy Hafner is coming in. And if you would like training resources, go to our training page. And as you scroll down, you'll see a variety of training documents on various topics that Western Liberty Network trains on. And if you scroll down a little further, you'll see recorded training sessions. This training session that you're on right now will be added by Tuesday of next week, but all of the past ones are here. And all you have to do is click on it and it'll start to play. Right now they don't show because my particular internet connection is very slow, and updating these things takes a while. There's one of them coming up there. And if you avail yourself of our training and you like what you see, you're invited to go to our support page. And you can make one-time or monthly contributions. And of course, as is true with all 501c3 organizations, any contributions to Western Liberty Network are fully tax deductible. Our guest today, Kim Thatcher, is one such donor. She helps us out in a variety of ways over time, and we're grateful to her for that. One final note on a legal front, as I stop the screen share, is that because we're a nonpartisan organization, but we have all kinds of people on as guests and participants, we make it very clear that any of the statements made on this recording, the people who make them are solely responsible for those statements, and any statements may not necessarily reflect the views of Western Liberty Network. So as it is, people are trickling on. Leela just joined us. She'll be here. You know, I always like to get to 9 participants because then we get the matrix of 3 by 3, like in the Brady Bunch credits. So that's always what I like to see every day. But anyway, Leela is joining us. There she is. And Leela, you are fortunate. You missed the boring part, the intro of this session, and you are just in time because I'm going to turn it over to my good friend and our state senator, Kim Thatcher, who is going to give us a legislative update, talk about what is to come, and answer whatever questions you folks may have. I would like to go ahead, Leela.
I gotta say, you guys are making me paranoid. The meeting said 1. And well, I don't know why I have feedback.
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because.
But anyway.
Leela, I was going to say, I'm sorry for the lag because I have slow internet here. So there's a lag like in a bad cell phone connection. But what I will tell you is, Leela, you are in time for the good stuff. And regarding the feedback, that is because more than one microphone is open. And I'm going to mute everyone except Kim. If you want to talk, interrupt, ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself, ask your question, make your comment, and then when you're finished, please remute yourself. That way we'll have a higher quality audio call. And with that, I will now turn it over and ask to unmute State Senator Kim Thatcher. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, everybody. I was called a couple days ago. Uh-oh, did I
No, we
get
hear you.
feedback here?
I just muted Bob, and I'll mute myself.
Okay, well, maybe. Okay, well, anyway, I've got not a whole dissertation prepared for you because I just thought since I knew it was going to be a small group, it'd be fun to kind of talk about some of the things that you want to talk about. But I'll start the ball rolling with mentioning that we are in the middle of what's the long session. I think you probably all know that. The constitutional end to that is, excuse me, not September, good Lord, June 28th. There are rumors that, there's always rumors that we might get out early, but it always ends up going, almost clear to the end. So we'll see. Just Wednesday, they announced imminent end of the session, imminent sine die. So they said, we're now at the point where we get 1 hour notice. So that's where and it's moving really fast. In the Senate, we were reading bills until Fred Gerard said, we're not going to read bills anymore. And so we're not reading bills. So it just snaps right on through. I said, why aren't we reading bills? He said, because we want to get out of the building, basically. And what that means, because it seems like we're not moving the calendar along any more quickly. So I don't know, I'm a little frustrated with that myself, because I'm not sure what we're getting for it. Things are moving very quickly. Things are moving back and forth where a House bill that passed the House came to the Senate, we amended it, and then it would go back over there for concurrence. And same with bills that we send over from the Senate over to the House, they might amend it and then bring it back over for concurrence. And so things are just kind of bouncing off all the marble walls in there. There are a number of bills. There's a lot of bad bills, but right now my inbox is filling up with, for instance, no or opposition to House Bill 2002A, and it would really limit a police officer's ability to deal with criminals. So there's a lot of opposition to that one. I think that one's driven mostly by the Portland police folks are letting people know that, hey, there's this bill out here. It's going to make it more difficult for us to do our job. Another bill that's out there that's kind of bringing some controversy is Senate Bill 744. And if you haven't heard of that one removes the requirement for high school students to demonstrate competency in reading and math and reading, writing, arithmetic, basically. So kind of lowering the standards there. Another one, okay, so I just introduced a bill. It has not been first read yet. I just got it back from Legislative Council on Thursday. I got a few sponsors and I just wanted to get it out there. And it's Senate Bill 872, and it has to do with vaccination passports. And I think everybody pretty much knows what that means. Making people show a credential before they can go maskless or come into a business maskless. And then also making sure that we preserve our constitutional rights. You wouldn't think we would have to restate those in a statute, but there we are. We all know how this emergency has been handled by our governor, and doesn't want to let go of power. So those are some of the things that are rolling right now. Also, a bill called 857. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It basically deals with wake boats on a portion of the Willamette River. It probably has nothing to do with you, but it sure could spread to other parts of the state. People have these boats, people have docks. People are with the docks claim that the people with the boats are ruining their docks, but there's a lot of other things maybe at play here. So rather than trying to pit millionaires against almost millionaires, I don't know, maybe we should do a study and figure out why there's a problem first. Then there's things are really moving along. My inbox, I am getting so many of opposition to 2002. That's the one with the police the police bill. Just a little update on 872 though. I'm just coming across this. I don't know if any of you have heard of Dr. Naomi Wolf. Okay, I'm hearing so. Okay, so she is pretty amazing. She's a Democrat. She is really fighting for constitutional rights. Well, that's where 872 came from. I drafted it in conjunction with what her lawyers had come up with, and then I have to go through our legislative council to get it drafted according to our form and whatever they do. She was reading, so I sent out a blurb to some of the activists saying, hey, there's 872, and I have, these are the reasons that we need this bill. And she read what I wrote, and she got suspended from Twitter. Her account was suspended. So that just goes to show you that there is just a blatant effort to hush any opposition, no independent thinking, no independent analysis, no other opinions are allowed except for the propaganda that the powers that be want you to hear. So that's some of the things going on right now. I'll just throw it out there for questions and see if there's something specific you would like to talk about.
Can I comment?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I never thought Alan Dershowitz and Naomi Wolf would be my heroes, but
Right.
because of their prior positions, but they are. And thank you for introducing that. I sent it to my doctor because I knew she would agree and appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been amazing how most people are in support of not having to force people to show a credential, but it's pretty amazing. I got a little snotty letter from somebody said, basically, they just think that it's only Trump supporters and oath keeper, conservative folks that are opposed to vaccinations. Well, this isn't even about vaccinations per se. It is more about let's not force people. Let's not coerce people. Let's not bribe people. Let's not treat people differently and discriminate simply because of their choice to not be vaccinated. So that's mostly what the bill is about. But I think most people are in agreement with that, not having to show your papers, as they say. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Naomi Wolf,
Well,
isn't Naomi Wolf the one who wrote the book, The Feminist Mystique, that fired everyone up so much?
Could have been. I have not read that one, but she's
okay.
a lifelong Democrat.
Yeah, she is, and that book is radical leftist. They made me read it in college, but
Yes.
yeah, they made me read it in college. Yeah. So well, that's a good way to kick off. Does anyone else have any questions? We've got a great source of information with us. Ask away. Bob, you're head of
Yeah, hi Kim, this is
Bobby.
Bob.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
Something slowed down. Can you hear me, Kim? Oh, gosh, I can't hear myself. Anyway, I thought that wakeboarding bill was more about the wake that they were causing damage to the shorelines. I didn't catch the music part in the bill.
No, yes, there's concern about the shorelines, there's concern about erosion, but there's also a lot of expert opinion saying that there are other contributing factors such as runoff from properties, improper vegetation, scouring through flooding, different things like that, and that the wake boats are not necessarily the problem. So I'm just suggesting we should look to figure out what the problem is before we start targeting somebody we think the problem is. So
Oh, I agree. I agree 100% on that issue there. There's some other bills that are, I'm curious about. I'm trying to find the number now. I think it was HB 3322. It's like it wasn't in committee, and now it was out of committee, and it wasn't in rules or ways and means, and now they're bringing it back to life again. I don't understand why they do that.
very interesting that it was. Okay, so after sessions, some people, some allies, friends of mine said, "Hey, what did you guys do killing a Republican bill?" And well, first of all, I was shocked, not necessarily knowing that it was a Republican bill or somebody's take-home bill. I had no idea. Nobody talked to me about it. But basically, it was a bill that would allow for growing of food in somebody's backyard as long as the person got permission from the owner within a planned community. So places where there's a homeowners association that might otherwise bar it, they want to kind of override that, allow people to grow food. Well, it sounds really good, but here's what kind of happened. Most of us never heard of the bill until that morning, unless you're on that committee. And we only have one half hour, 30-minute caucus meetings now. We could have longer ones, but nevertheless, I won't get into that. So we had 24 bills to go over that day, so it was very rushed. We had floor debate, and the floor debate convinced many of us, including myself, that maybe this should be a no. So, we're not reading bills anymore. Everything goes really fast, everything's rushed. And anyway, normally what happens is when a bill fails on the floor, the carrier comes forward and says, I want to change my vote to no, because you have to be at the prevailing side. And I would like to move that I don't remember the words, but basically bring it up for consideration, again. So I don't know. So you're saying it's coming up for another hearing, or they're just bringing forward another version of the bill? What were you saying, Bob? Because I haven't really tracked that.
I think it was HB 3088. I was trying to reference
Okay.
the wrong number, but that particular bill, I almost agree that I've seen situations where people just get carried away with their gardening, and they just let the rest of their property go to what. And I think that's the concern that homeowner associations have, is that people will take advantage of that. Growing food, yeah, I agree. Raising chickens, I agree. Even here, like I have chickens, but what do I get out of chickens? I get rats. Because if you don't,
That's what we were hearing.
Food, yeah, if you don't pick up the food at night, the rats will get to it. And I discovered that all of a sudden. I was just, that's why I say I call my little dog a rat terrier, because he's been killing rats. Because he's having a heck of a problem. So that's what happens when you have animals, and you're not taking care of it properly.
Yeah.
And with gardens, if you're not taking care of the weeds, you're going to get weeds, and it's going to look unsightly. And I think that's the problem with that bill. But it was 3088. That's the one where
3088.
That's the repeals crimes of prostitution and all that kind of stuff. It got referred to judiciary, and now it had an informational meeting. Well, why? I don't understand. That thing should have never seen the light of day. But are they bringing it back?
No, this was kind of a courtesy. I mean, they probably will in a future session. I have absolutely no doubt, but they were not going to pass it this session, I don't believe. And it's, I don't think there's necessarily agreement among the Democrats that this is a good idea. There are, so this is the bill that repeals the crimes of prostitution, commercial sexual solicitation, and promoting prostitution. It repeals them. Do you hear me? This is crazy, right? And what they're trying to do is make it so that I don't know. I guess I don't quite understand what they're trying to do, but they're saying that the people who might be involved with this are traumatized, and we don't want to further traumatize them by arresting them. I'm like, well, how are you going to get them away from their abuser, their exploiter, their pimp, if you can't, use a legal reason to get them away? But anyway, so they had their informational hearing, and yeah, that was just a courtesy, I think.
And some of these other bills that they're trying to reduce the punishment things is just totally insane. That's the reason why we have punishment, is to change the patterns of these people that do crimes. It's just mind-boggling what's going on in the country now.
Yeah, the pendulum swinging kind of off the fulcrum here. It's just kind of going flinging off into the distance where it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think we could do some things that make sense as far as punishment and crime, but I think we should do it in a little more deliberative fashion rather than an emotional fashion, having all compassion for the criminals or the people convicted of this while having just kind of disregarding the victims. So yeah, we need to improve that.
Kim, I
You know, I
have a-
noticed that Dr. Naomi will be at the Capitol on June 9th, 10 to 12. So one of the visuals they're having. From
Yeah, I was
Oregon Freedom.
She will be there. I think she might be there remotely. I'm not sure, but I know that I was going to try to attend probably at the beginning before session starts at 10:30. This is another thing I've read too, and I think we need to be super careful when we do these rallies, vigils, whatever you want to do when we're gathering people together. There's so many bad people that really want to make people with people with an alternative point of view, such as, I'm getting really weird feedback, it's throwing me off, sorry. But I think that when we get together, we need to be careful and really watch for those who want to make us look bad, that infiltrate these things and want to create some sort of event. I really am worried about that. So anyway, thought I'd throw that out there.
Hey, Kim, I apologize. I think the feedback was probably due to me. But I do have a question, a couple of questions. I got an email from Cascade Policy Institute pointing out that Oregon's PERS crisis is as bad as it ever has been. I'm wondering what, if anything, in the legislative session has been done to address the PERS unfunded shortfall, and what in the legislature has been done that would have the goal of increasing our tax burden.
Well, boy, I have not heard or come across any particular bills in the Senate side. It's really hard to keep an eye on what's really happening in the whole building when you're so myopic and trying to deal with the things in your own committees and that. But I don't recall any good PERS reform bills or any bills that would make the liability problem improved. I have not yet, but the session's not over. I have not heard of any such. We've added people to qualify in a certain classification under the PERS system, like they changed from this classification to this classification, but I've not really anything that would help with the liability situation so far. You also asked about raising our taxes. They, of course, I don't get it. I think they'll have a difficult time justifying and finding 3/5 majority on the House. At least they don't have a super majority in the House. They do have, if the Republicans stick together, it will be very difficult for them to pass the tax hike, I believe. If they stick together, that's the question. You have some Republicans in there who have historically supported tax increases. So it just really depends on them sticking together.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions of the good senator?
Capital. Any questions? I have one. I was signed up for like a ton of different bills following them. Then I get an email that I unsubscribed from every bill I was following. I have no idea how that happened. And of course, I forgot bill numbers to like look anything back up and resubscribe and all of that. So I guess, is there any way to like automatically resubscribe to the ones I was following? And the one that I cannot remember the bill number of, I think it's dead, but I am curious, is the overtime for farm employees working over 40 hours a week. Do you remember that bill number, and is it dead?
Good question. I do remember that bill. Let me see if I can find that. I might have that in my notes here. because that was definitely on my bad bill list. So let me see if I can find that. See, I have to tell you, I am coming to you via Starlink. I think it's called Better Than Nothing Beta. So hopefully I'm coming through okay where I am. So I'm not home right now, but let me see if I can find that. We gotta find.
HB 2358.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm right. So 2358, let's look at that. I'm looking at 2358, 2358. Let's just make sure here, 2358, that it is indeed dead. Okay, oh. No, it is not dead because it is in rules. It is in House Rules Committee, and that policy committee is open until the end. There you go. Not dead. And 2358, as far as
I can write it down and follow it on OS again.
hopefully, I don't know if you've got any of your old emails, but maybe you can find out what some of those bill numbers were that I don't know why you'd be signed off of them. That's very frustrating. I don't know. I don't like this system. I mean, it's an improvement over what we had, but it's really tough when, especially when people can't come into the building. So anyway, not dead.
Okay, are there additional questions?
We had a bill that passed.
Go ahead, Kim.
Well, okay, I just want to, yeah, go ahead. I just want to throw out there's a lot of bills that sound really great on the surface, but they cause some problems. Like, for instance, the advocacy commissions. That's the Commission on Black Affairs, Commission on Asian Affairs, Asian Pacific Affairs, I think, and then the Commission on Women's Affairs. I'm getting some feedback, weird. Anyway, they want to change the word from seeking equality to seeking equity. There's a big difference. They were just calling it an update, a modernization of language, and I think it has completely different meanings. And that did pass. And then there's also one that also sounded really good. It was about it's 2936B, and I voted against it because first of all, in the bill, one of the very first things it says is that racism has no place in law enforcement. I absolutely agree with that, but I voted against the bill because they were trying to make it so that candidates, law enforcement candidates, people who are seeking to, maybe become hired, get trained and all that, they would do searches on their social media and all that to kind of get a flavor of what they are all about, and want to make sure they don't belong to militant groups. And I don't remember the other, racial supremacy groups, and I can't remember the other terms, but they didn't define it. And the thing is, right now we have definitions. We have places like Timber Unity being described as extremist groups, and we have people who just support the Second Amendment. Of course, they're militant, right? So I just had some concern about what direction that might be going. Plus, they have to do a law enforcement candidate assessment, psychological assessment on their beliefs and attitudes about a specified classification group of people. And there are no definitions for many of these key terms that could result in the rejection of a law enforcement candidate to be considered as a law enforcement officer. So if you belong to a church, for instance, that believes in traditional marriage and that there are two biological sexes, that could potentially red flag one of these candidates and kick them out of being considered for being hired and all that. So that there's a lot of these bills that you just get set up as, well, you're voting for racism, for instance. And so it's going to be tough because there's going to be a lot of folks that are being couched as racist if they don't vote a certain way. There was even one where, oh, I don't remember the number. I'm sorry, I don't have the number off my head, but it hasn't come to the floor yet because it was a bill that would allow people in probation, even for measure 11 offenses of assault and robbery, to be able to get off of this supervision early. And I said, why? Why do we want to include those groups? Well, I guess because those mostly affect, I think I was told, the BIPOC community. So I'm like, oh, great. So if I want to have, everybody being accountable and go through and finish their supervision, you're going to be called a racist. So that's kind of how the session's been going. It's been a lot of these little highly charged type topics that really are hard to vote against in a lot of ways. So there's that.
I just want to say thank you because you have had the courage to vote against some of them. And so many of them are couched in racism, probably a majority of them. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's just,
I won't
it
name, there's a
absolutely
couple in
don't
particular.
racism.
There's a couple in
Well, there's
particular
a
I'm
lot
not
of,
even going to mention, but thank you.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of really hard stuff going through there. So people have to read their district and go from there. It's, it's going to pass. 99.99% chance that every bill that comes to the floor is going to pass. Just depends on where you're going to be on and which side you're going to be on. So,
Yeah, I do thank you,
So I don't blame.
Kim, for taking a stance on those bills. It's been one of my pet peeves to see these critical race theory and bills going through, and that's basically what they are. They're just trying to get their messages across using language that nobody really understands, and they change it around so much that you don't know what they're saying. But I had a comment for that person that asked about the farm bills. When you see a bill that hits your interest, you can always go to the Orlis website and subscribe to either email or get an RSS feed for that bill. And when it moves, you will get a notice on it. So that
Yes,
would help
I did
her
do
be able
that.
to
I
keep
had
track
like
of it.
100, I had not quite 100, probably about 70 bills that I was following. And then I got an email that I had unsubscribed from everything. I stopped getting all of my legislative emails from the, like the emails that the different senators and representatives send out. I stopped getting those, and I stopped getting every OLIS update.
I just thought of another thing that you brought up about critical race theory. So I was getting my inbox filled up with people that work for the PERS retirement system. They work for the state, and they're saying that they're getting this transgender training by Basic Rights Oregon, not exactly a nonpartisan group, not, that they're being kind of coerced into taking part in this. And we were trying to figure out what were the consequences if a person chose to not be in that. It's still kind of up in the air. They're not really answering the questions very well, but they want you to partake of this training. And people, it's everywhere. It's not just critical race theory. It's all kinds of things that, if people would just treat people well and not try to offend people and not be offended, I think we'd all be better off. But they always want to just try to brainwash you into thinking a certain way. And if you don't think that way, you're an evil, bad person. Anyway, it's kind of a interesting development in our state government and all over, in corporate America, you hear about it too. So
Yeah, let me ask you this. Out of all the bills that have been signed into law that have come through this session, which one do you think is the most unconstitutional, ripe for challenge in the courts?
that would be Senate Bill 554. If people It's a tough one too, because it sounds so great. It sounds like, oh, we're gonna keep our guns safe from our children, and our children won't get hurt, and people won't commit suicide anymore. And there's a lot of problems with it. I think it's been made very clear, at least from what I've read in the Heller decision and others, that you can't require somebody to keep their gun where they can't get to it easily and quickly for self-defense purposes. So I think there's going to be a lot of problems with that one. I hope it is challenged. We'll see.
Okay.
Also, I'm worried about, I think it was I was also worried about SJR. I think it's SJR 12. It basically guarantees universal health care, but it doesn't guarantee universal health care. It put no dollars to it. It's not going to cost anything after all. And it's going to go on the ballot. This is a legislative referral. It will go on the ballot, and in dollars to donuts, it will be supported overwhelmingly. And it's not going to be what people think it is. Just like ballot measure 110 is not what people thought it would be. By decriminalizing drug use, we ended up just kind of, I don't know, I think exacerbating and contributing to homeless issues in a way that's not helpful. I don't know. We're making weird decisions here. And that was a bill that was brought to us by, and I'm not just saying this, Soros. It was absolutely Soros money and Zuckerberg. That they were the biggest contributors to the ballot measure 110 with the decriminalization of drugs. And we're the first state in the union to do it, of course. We'd love to be the first. And so there we are. I just don't think it is what people thought it is going to be.
Did you get that number correct? SCR 12? I don't think.
Let me get it. It's those resolutions mess me up. I think it's SJR 12, but let me look it up, because those resolutions always, there's like memorials and resolutions, and sometimes they're joint resolutions and sometimes they're not. Hang on here. Let's see what I can find here. SCR. Nope, SCR 12 is not. It would be SJR 12. It's proposes an amendment to the Constitution establishing obligation of state to ensure every resident of state access to cost-effective, whatever that means, clinically appropriate, whatever that means, affordable health care. There you go. Sounds great, doesn't it?
I have another favorite, 3110, requiring women on the boards of public corporations and the diversity.
Huh.
And it's been challenged in California, I understand.
What's this? 3110. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That one, wow, work session. It came to the floor of the House. Holy moly. And they had a work session.
I think it's 3110. Is that's the board of directors one?
Yeah. So
just-
they had a work session on the end of May. Oh, they're moving it to rules. They're keeping it alive. It'll be
Yep.
in the rules committee.
Yep.
Yippee skippy. Yay. Good grief. Doesn't end.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like the comment, if you're going to have surgery, are you going to worry about what color they are, what race they are, or what gender? You want the best you can get.
Absolutely.
I have a question about 554.
What's the number?
You said a question about 554 passing. So since the emergency clause was removed on it, can't there be signatures collected, but it's just no one, I mean, that's an organization that has to take up the effort to spearhead
It's
it.
90 days,
but-
it's effective 90 days after, not January 1.
Yeah.
It'd be very compressed. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but they did take off the emergency clause. You might be able to, if you get the signatures collected within a certain amount of time. I honestly don't know all the details of the ins and outs of that particular process, but you could get it to stay. I think they had a similar thing on the driver's license deal back in the day, where it was supposed to come into they had to delay implementation because it was going to be on the ballot. So we might need to look into that, but it's possible. I just think it'll be very difficult to pass, you know, get it to be rejected by the people and get it on the ballot.
Well, and even on the ballot, the way it's worded, I don't know what the chances would be of it not passing. But I don't think it's as bad as what it was last year. Is that your thoughts on it? I mean, because it's
Are you
got the
talking-
separate gun safes and like last year, wasn't it like separate gun safes for the ammo and the gun? And this year it's not quite as bad, right?
Well, there's strict liability. If your gun is taken and used in a crime or somebody gets hurt, you're going to be 100% liable for it. And that's only, I guess, if you admit that you own that gun. I don't know how else they'd prove it right now because they don't have a gun registry yet.
Yet.
Senator, I have a question for you on House Bill, or Senate Bill 872. What's your feelings on your ability to get some co-sponsors on that bill?
Oh, my bill, 872. She's, I'm looking it up going, oh yeah, it's my bill.
Sorry to throw you there.
There's so many things going on. It just kind of shows you how you're juggling all this stuff. But I did not, because I was really just trying to get it out there. I was not trying to perfect language in the bill or wait a long time to get sponsors. I just wanted to get it out there. So I did not give people on the House side, unfortunately, a long enough time to be able to sign on. There were a couple of members that did. Neerman wanted to sign on. He ran over to my office, but I'd already gotten it turned into Legislative Council. And unfortunately, while it's in the possession of the Senate, and it's probably going to stay in the possession of the Senate because it's not going to pass, but while it's in the possession of the Senate, the House members can't sign on to it. So there will be more people signing on to it, I know, as we move on, especially after it's first read and it's actually in the system. Right now, if you try to look it up, you can't, I don't think you can find it because it hasn't been first read.
It's not there. It's not there until
showing.
after the first reading. Is it going to get a hearing?
That's a great question. I hope so. I hope we at least get a hearing, or maybe we can nudge the governor to actually come up with some solid plans for reopening the state. Because if we get rid of the emergencies, then we won't even need that. But it was kind of funny. It was mentioned in the governor's the press conference yesterday by KATU. They had asked the question about that, and the governor responded by saying, we're just trying to give businesses an option. I mean, great option. You either get to be a mask cop or a vaccination cop. So not a great choice. Yeah, I don't know. We're hoping, I mean, obviously we're hoping it could pass, but I think it'd be even better if the governor just let go of her power and say, okay, the emergency's over. That would be my druther.
Okay, what else do we have? Anything else for the good senator? We've got a little time left.
One more bill, and again, I don't remember bill number, but the one that would have removed or made Senator Hurd and Linthicum choose if they wanted to represent ORP or
865.
What is it?
865 is the bill number.
865. Yeah, 865. Yeah, it was going to be heard one day, and then they pulled it from the agenda that day. And so all that testimony, unfortunately, that went in there got taken away, which I find a little maddening. If they had it up for a hearing and people submitted testimony, that testimony should remain. There's no reason to take it off. But one of the many disagreements I have with how our process works.
All that public testimony is public records. It should still remain.
Yeah.
Amen.
It
was taken down because they weren't going to have the hearing. They decided to get rid of the written testimony. That's wrong to me. If people submitted it, it should remain with the bill and it should be able to be seen.
Yeah, I bet they can't get rid of it. They just don't have to display it. I bet you.
Yeah. No, it's not gotten rid. It's just not. Yeah.
No, I know,
exactly.
but
It's not
you'd have to get
accessible.
you'd have to do the request and go through all of that, which is still
I did the
wrong.
public records request for all of that testimony that was deleted from it. Have not yet gotten a response from Legislative Council.
Well, it's not, it's, whose call is that? It's not LC's,
No,
it's
I
at,
think
whose call is that?
I think it's just IS, the information systems, those people. I think they're the ones that have, I don't know, I did get an email about that, see if I can find it, but because we had some upset people wonder, where'd all this testimony go that I worked so hard on? It's all.
Is
it's not
that
even there
likely to be
anymore.
set for another hearing? Is this hearing going to be rescheduled on it likely?
I don't know. I asked Wagner about it because he told me the day of that we took it off the agenda. And I said, are you going to be considering it in the future? Well, I don't think there are plans at this time, he said. But it's a weasel clause. It's in the rules committee. That means it's there until the end.
Till the end.
1 hour notice now too.
My guess would be that they found
Yeah,
out
great, right?
there was a US Supreme Court ruling. I think it was EU versus San Francisco Democratic Party that said it was illegal for the government to interfere with the internal governance of a political party. As a libertarian who has dealt with an internal conflict for years, where the Secretary of State was immobilized by that ruling, I would think it would be impossible for this law or this bill to be passed and be regarded constitutional in any way. And that may be why they pulled it. What do you think, Kim?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it sure took them a while to pull it. It was like right before the committee was gonna be meeting. While we were meeting on the floor, they decided, well, we're gonna pull it. And I saw some of the proponents just, talking here and there and going back and forth. And I was wondering what's up with that. But I basically said in caucus that I'm planning on speaking to it. I think it's completely unconstitutional and I will be speaking to that. And I had all kinds of stuff prepared too. Can't hear you, Richard.
Okay, I think I'm there now. Okay, very good. By the way, Kim, how do you like Starlink? How does it work? I mean, I know how it works, but I mean, I am impressed with it actually. Every once in a while it goes down because it's not, it's at the better than nothing beta level right now, but so far, if somebody can't figure out getting affordable internet to the boonies like Elon Musk, I don't know who can. So yeah, that's
pretty
right.
impressed actually so far.
I've got HughesNet satellite and it's awful. I'm hoping that Starlink is a little bit better.
Oh, it is.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Thank you.
Much better. It's very fast. Very
Yes,
fast.
thank you, Elon Musk. Well, very good. Hopefully we will come to the end of session soon. We know that we're not safe as long as the legislature's in session. And so Kim, do what you can to get out of the building, I guess, short of undermining your principles. I know they've had a couple challenges along those lines already. I want to thank you for being on. You're always there for the grassroots community. You're always there for Western Liberty Network and me, and I'm grateful to you. And everyone else that is on the call, I want to thank you for taking the time to participate. And this is how we fight. We get informed and we engage, and you've all done that. So I want to thank you for participating. This session will be up on the website by next Tuesday, and we'll have another session at 1 o'clock. Be watching for your emails for details, and God bless you all. Thank you.